Hey everyone, so with the release of the Windows 10 October 2020 update this week, also known as Windows 10 version 20H2, I wanted to compare it with the previous May 2020 update in regards to features and speed to see what's really changed. Now throughout the video, on the left will be the previous May 2020 update, codenamed 20H1, and on the right will be the October 2020 update, version 20H2. If you're only interested in one segment, here are the timestamps for both the features comparison and the speed comparison. And enough of me rambling, let's get into it. So, the first major change we'll talk about is the new naming scheme, specifically the version numbers. Seriously, when it comes to naming, it seems like Microsoft will never get it right. So in all previous versions of Windows 10, Microsoft went for a year, month naming scheme for Windows 10. So when you hear Windows 10 version 1507, the 15 means 2015 and the 07 means July. In the May 2020 update's case, it's version 2004. In the October 2020 update, Microsoft is taking a different approach by using a year, half, and then a number. So the first two digits mean the same thing, but the last two digits basically specify which half of the year, so 1 or 2. So 20H2 means second half of 2020. It's weird because Windows 10 uses the same format for codenames. You know what, I'm just gonna move on. Next, let's talk about the Start menu, which retains its functionality but takes a new approach when it comes to icon design. Microsoft calls this theme-aware tiles, meaning that instead of an app using its own color for a live tile, it instead relies on the theme that Windows 10 is using. So whenever you change the accent color, for example, in Windows 10, all the live tiles will match the accent color, with a few exceptions, of course. This even applies to the All Apps list, which doesn't have boxes around the apps anymore. This is honestly personal preference, but if you want my opinion, I just love this new Start menu. It's way better, it's a lot cleaner, and looking back at the old one, it just looks a lot more messy, but I guess it's personal preference. Next up is redesigned notifications. There really isn't much to talk about. Things just mostly moved around and notifications look more organized and informational. If you really care, the arrow is replaced with an X instead, so there's something. As the control panel slowly fades away in existence in Windows 10 for the more modern Settings app, in this update, the System About page in the control panel has now moved to the Settings app. If you try and navigate to it in the control panel, it'll just automatically send you to the Settings app. Some might like it, some might not. I think the newer version looks neater, but the old one is more informational, at least to me. There's also a copy button for your convenience if you want to quickly copy system information, which I actually found pretty useful. The new Microsoft Edge is finally preloaded with Windows 10. You won't be awkwardly stuck with both the legacy and the new version. And I'd like to reiterate that the newer version of Edge is based off of Chromium, so web pages load much faster. I highly recommend this web browser now. I use it as my default web browser. I think Microsoft made a really good decision here. Speaking of Microsoft Edge, the Alt-Tab shortcut now features individual tabs for Microsoft Edge, which can be handy to some users. The older version could not do this, and of course you can adjust this in the Settings app if you don't like this behavior. If you're on older versions of Windows 10, every install would give you this generic taskbar layout. However, with the October 2020 update, if you installed Windows 10 with a Microsoft account, your taskbar will be personalized. For example, if you have an Office account linked, the Office app might be pinned to the taskbar, or if you have a phone linked, the Your Phone app will be pinned. You remember that tablet mode feature in Windows 10, right? Yeah, I didn't either. So the October 2020 update basically acknowledged that, and instead of going into tablet mode if you fold your PC into a tablet, it'll instead just make some of the elements of the Windows UI bigger. Now, because I demonstrated this in VirtualBox, Windows 10 wouldn't actually let me enter this mode, so I created a mock-up of what that actually looks like. So some stuff in this new tablet UI can include the File Explorer elements being bigger and spaced out, and same for the taskbar. Another legacy part of Windows going to the Settings app, so the refresh rate can actually now be chosen in the advanced display settings in the Settings app, although oddly enough you still have the option to go back to the old method unlike the System About page. And last but not least, if you were hoping to clean install this OS onto a DVD, yeah, good luck with that because you can't even burn the ISO to a DVD due to the ISO image being larger than 4.7 gigabytes. So that's the features comparison. Next, I want to see how performance was impacted after the update. So, once again, on the left is the May 2020 update, 20H1, or version 2004 technically, and the right is the October 2020 update, version 20H2. Both running same hardware, nothing special. I just wanted to do a mini speed test to get a rough idea if performance was really impacted. So let's start up with the startup tests. Now, my predictions, I really don't think there will be that much of a difference. If anything, I think 20H2 will perform better in most cases because really the October 2020 update added very minor changes, so I'm expecting it to do a little bit better than 20H1. These are always a pain to edit because my PC just can't handle it, but really when you look at it from side to side, it's definitely worth it. So, after some time later, we can see that Windows 10 version 20H2 actually booted up first, but really 20H1 wasn't that far behind, so honestly this could be technically considered a tie. Before getting into program launching, I wanted to see how much storage each version took up, and surprisingly, 20H2 actually took up less storage, about 5GB less than 20H1. I might have done something behind the scenes that might have caused this, but still, 5GB is a pretty significant difference considering that the ISO was much larger. So, beginning program launching with the calculator app, although the animation speed of both were a bit different, they ultimately loaded the full application at the exact same time. That is pretty surprising. Next is Notepad, so both of these did have a very minimal difference, but 20H2 did load up first. I did have to slow this one down. By the way, don't let this test be the end-all be-all for whether to update or not. This is a very rough idea. Percentage error can be variable. These lightweight applications might not be the most important in terms of speed. I just want to add them anyways just for the sake of variety. Heavier applications might give us a better idea. So here's settings, a more modern Windows application, and as you can see, they both basically loaded up at the exact same time. Now here's where things start to get interesting. Opening a photo, I was expecting both of these to load at the exact same time, just like all the other tests did. However, something weird happened, and 20H2 took an extremely long time to load the photo. I'm not sure why, this might be because of program optimization, but these are both running the same app, so that kind of confused me. Moving on to loading a video file, the same exact thing happened just like the photo. Opening both at the same time, the application loaded first on 20H1, but took a whole lot longer in 20H2. Now here's opening a Word document. This took a while, but I was starting to get some very similar results between both. Although both of them were pretty slow at loading Word in general due to the hardware, 20H1 did load up first with a significant gap until 20H2 fully loaded the document, like the video and photo. So, moving on from loading applications, I want to see the file transfer speed. These are both trying to copy a Windows 10 ISO to the desktop from a USB flash drive. Although 20H2 was slightly faster than 20H1, I'd argue they're roughly the same due to the length of the test, so nothing really significant here. So here's some benchmarks for those curious. This test is being done using Geekbench 5, and as you can tell, performance isn't really being impacted here. There really isn't much of a difference. And just as a little bonus, I want to do some page loading tests between the old and the new Microsoft Edge, and seriously, these results are amazing. The new Microsoft Edge just blows the old out of the water in terms of performance. Websites fully load either much faster or are on par with the old Microsoft Edge. So this basically means rip Edge HTML. It's really impressive how much can change from changing the base of a web browser. And let's end it off with a shutdown test. So both were really fast. 20H1 was first, but 20H2 wasn't that far behind. Now the question is, should you update? If you ask me, I would hold it off for just a little bit. I noticed some unusually slow results for heavier applications. I think it would be better off to wait for a few weeks and wait for program developers to optimize their programs for this new version of Windows 10. Even though I tested built-in programs, I think it's safe to say that results would be the same for third-party ones as well. So hopefully you all enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Any support would be greatly appreciated, whether it's a like, subscribe, or even a comment. That would help a lot. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.